Hey, welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. Hope you're doing fantastic out there. The Miami Heat. Oh, why does it just feels like a burden is off the shoulders. It feels like the air just tastes better. I needed this like I need air to breathe. The Miami Heat blow out the Atlanta Hawks. Not only just a much needed win, but a much needed blowout, ass kicking win. That was a tightly contested game, basically, up until midway through the third quarter, and then all of a sudden, finally, the juice ran out for the Atlanta Hawks. The Miami Heat picked up the defense a little bit, and I really liked today's game. Yes, it was a bit of a settling of the universe based on how crazy it was with Miami missing the shots that they had in the last game against the Atlanta Hawks. But also there was an element of like, you know what? It felt to me with all the stuff that is new with the Miami Heat outside of course, maybe one of the studs of the night with Davion Mitchell. There was just something very settling about tonight with, Haywood Highsmith getting back into the fold. Duncan Robinson, something about Duncan Robinson in the Heat's house, hitting threes and just having one of those nights. It's like apple pie, dude. It's just like it is comforting to the soul when Duncan Robinson gets that building going with his three ball. And he just had it tonight. And you think about those two guys in particular, like, hey, there's a lot of talk of the rotation right now of like who's in, who's out. But it was basically tonight, Spo given a whole smorgasbord of guys. But it was basically the starters, Duncan Robinson and Haywood Highsmith. And that was it. That was the list. And both Duncan and Haywood Highsmith were excellent. Huge in today's performance, and very, very much buoyed this win for the Miami Heat that, had a sprinkling of the new guys as well, and especially off night. Davion Mitchell, it basically felt like his welcome to the Miami Heat moment because, like, this is a crazy thing, dude. The Miami Heat basically haven't been home at all this entire month outside of one game against the Boston Celtics. So the Miami Heat haven't won in that building in a month's time. January 27th, I actually believe it was a month to the day. And that was the double OT win against the Orlando Magic. And I think that was the day that they, ironically, I believe that was the game where they suspended Jimmy Butler indefinitely going into the last five games of suspension. And remember, the whole report there was Haywood Highsmith was replacing Jimmy Butler in the starting lineup to the point where now he was out of the rotation. But you just have to give it to Haywood Highsmith because just like this dude has been counted out and doubted so many times at so many places. It's almost, and in a lot of ways, Duncan Robinson too, it's almost like they're so used to the ecosystem of the Heat that they can do that whole Udonis Haslam creed of stay ready so you don't got to get ready. And Haywood was that today, man, because it wasn't just the amount of threes. Like, he hit 4 from downtown today, and he upped his defensive juice. But, like, he had loose ball after loose ball, offensive rebound that kicked out the threes. Like, I want to say, like, he was the catalyst for, like, 3 threes just based on second chance rebounds or deflections that he was putting out there.
Not really surprised. I feel like, he might have thrown me in for some defense and maybe on Trae Young in the quarter, so I was ready. It was definitely gratifying to get the opportunity and, just provide a spark and, provide a plus.
Your playing time has been obviously up and down. How have you kind of managed that, trying to stay ready, obviously, for these opportunities?
Yeah, just putting in a lot of extra hours in the gym. I come back at night, get up shots, come early in the morning, stay late after practice, late after shoot around. Just staying sharp and being ready. So just a lot of hours, a lot of extra work for sure.
Thought we generated some good shots the other day too.
But yeah, obviously it's nice to play at home, see him go in. Sometimes somebody makes one, can have a compounding effect. Thought the effort was great, especially H. Was big time. Bam was pretty good too.
But what did it say about Haywood? His playing time obviously been up and down this season, the last few years.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say enough positive things about H. I mean, he just comes in, same mindset every single day. Just ultimate professional with his work, his habits. He's like refreshing to be around in that sense. You know, his number gets called, he goes out there and does his job. So I think you saw from the bench, everybody was fired up to see him have that game because he's put a lot into it behind the scenes.
He was huge. He was huge today, man. He was huge in every which way. And it was a game that was much needed. I think the Heat fan, it was interesting being in the building tonight because it just felt like everybody was just searching, like they're just like, is this what it's going to be? Like, is the team just going to go in the toilet? Should they tank? Can they turn this around? And then we're all just like saying, what the hell was that game with missing all the open shots? So, to have a game like this one, I just think it was just good for the Heat fans' soul. That to me is what I took from this one with all of this. But Haywood Highsmith was absolutely, I would say he and Davion Mitchell today were my 1-1A MVPs, and then trickle down, obviously Duncan Robinson was tremendous, and then Tyler and Bam doing their thing. And Bam Adebayo today, as Erik Spoelstra said, was playing. It was thought he was not going to play today. A lot of people who were at shoot-around thought Bam wasn't going to be giving it a go. He worked out at his normal time, and everybody had mentioned that the calf thing, but Bam came out today wrapped up around his back, and so he was actually dealing with multiple injuries. And just brought that effort, that will, and it was much needed, man. And I think that the Heat still needed they still needed to show some moxie to handle some things. I mean, Erik Spoelstra, that dude. People do mention about bringing Trae Young into the Heat, and I'm not ruling that out. But man, Erik Spoelstra hates when his team has to go against Trae Young. He takes a certain pride in shutting down Trae Young. But when Trae Young gets away with, as Erik Spoelstra likes to put it, the trickery, which is the foul calls and the flopping, and he's like going to the refs, and he's doing this, even to the point where Trae Young's like laughing at him, and then like Chris Quinn has to like hold Erik Spoelstra back because he's so fed up with the officials falling for it. Now, mind you, he won't use a challenge. But it was hilarious. I'm like watching this. I'm like, man, he is beside himself, furious that these officials are falling for the Trae Young stuff. And then on the other side of it, Bam was looking at like he was not pleased with the officials today because there was one where he thought on, and I think it was Terrence Mann, that he thought that he got ball first, and they called a foul on that, and then he thought Levert was flopping like a fish. There was kind of like a glance, spoke kind of like, look at the man. I'm like, is he going to do it? Is he going to use the challenge? No, of course not. Of course not. But there's a certain level that Erik Spoelstra of pride he takes in shutting down Trae Young. And Trae did not have an efficient night tonight. He finished, I believe, 4-12. Did get to the free throw line 8 times because he's good at that. But Davion Mitchell, even from like I could tell, I think there was a point where Davion Mitchell got teed up in the third quarter, and I'm like, oh, that him and Spo are gonna bond over that. Like that they just hate Trae. And Trae Young kind of like was getting like a mini little run going, and it was actually at that point Atlanta was up after Trae Young got teed up. Atlanta was up 3. Then he hit a runner off the window, put him up 5. And then Miami got Kalel, who picked up back-to-back fouls. And they were kind of in that 4-5 range. And then Bam hit a jumper, and then Tyler found Bam to tie it up with a trailing dunk. And it felt like from that point on, the Heat really never looked back. They got to a point where Trae Young hit a three, brought it to within three, and then the Heat they go into a timeout, or they come out of the break and they force a 24-second violation, and that was really like the moment that felt like the biggest catalyst to that. Khalil Ware started cranking it up. He had a really good third quarter, blocked George Niang. Wiggins ends up going to the foul line. Davion Mitchell was aggressive and getting and one plays. Haywood Highsmith was like diving for loose balls and getting fouled while he were in the bonus. And then Haywood Highsmith, this is where like he just went crazy, going all over the place, and Miami was just nailing threes from Duncan Robinson. He was just everywhere. It was awesome. So Miami went into the fourth quarter. They end it. They get threes from Davion Mitchell, Khalil Ware, and they're up 14. And I'm just thinking to myself at this time, this is going really well, but I'm terrified of what this fourth quarter is going to bring. I'm terrified. I don't know. And thankfully, the Heat were like, they weren't going to let this happen. There was like a little moment. Davion Mitchell comes out and he hits a couple of threes. He could not miss tonight. He was friggin' amazing. What a game for 45 today. But you were just like, oh man, if there is a basketball god in the sky, please don't make us suffer. I couldn't take it. And they made like a little mouse fart run, the Hawks, but thankfully, the Heat put a stop to that pretty crazily. It was ended with Duncan Robinson hitting his sixth or seventh three tonight? How many did Duncan have tonight? Yeah, Duncan hit his sixth three of the night, and then an outlet pass. There was a loose ball down to Duncan Robinson, and he ends up laying it in, and Kevin Love just gives the double thumbs down because he wanted to see a dunk. It was good to see everybody in a good mood, even the guys who weren't playing. There was a lot of what's the term that Spo uses? Enjoying each other's success, and you saw a lot of that. Even Jaime, who wasn't playing, or Terry, who wasn't playing, or Nico, who was hurt. It was just good to see everybody feeling good again. And wins can cure a lot, but I also think it's got to be a relief because there's been good moments with Andrew Wiggins and good production with Andrew Wiggins and Davion Mitchell and even good moments with Kyle Anderson, but it hasn't come in a win like this. The scratch and claw, the Toronto win was a little bit stressful. To get a win like this in their house, they're going to have a big run here of home games. I just thought it was absolutely necessary. Now, the competition is going to step up a little bit. They're taking on the Pacers and the Knicks coming up this weekend. That'll really show you something. But it did feel like while the Heat did shoot at an insane clip today, there were also moments of them getting back to themselves. Like the Heat in some ways have felt very lost of the thing that makes them the Heat. The mantra, the hardest working, best conditioned, most disliked, toughest, nastiest team in the NBA. There's just been an element of like, this doesn't feel, you guys let go of the rope easier and worse than anybody in the league right now. There has to be some grit. There has to be some Miami Heat left in there. And I think you got that today from Haywood. You got that from Duncan Robinson. You got that from Bam. You got it from Tyler. You got it from Andrew Wiggins continues to be his own demon getting it to the free throw line. He got to it 10 times tonight. Tyler, that rip through motion that he has been money for him. He's been getting to the free throw line like a demon as well. I loved his headband look today. He was out there looking like Cobra Ty and shoot first, no mercy. Like that's what he was bringing to the table today, and just felt very necessary on all ends for Miami to get this. Still got a big climb in the standings. It's a start, and I think that's just kind of the way you got to look at it right now. It's a start. it's a start. It was very needed. This, you can only start with one. As Spo was saying, like the next focus has to be on to the Pacers game.
It's one game. I know, that sounds like coach speak, but it really is. We're living in the present moment. I commend the group. After every tough day, we come in, with a great approach, just to focus on the task at hand, and we have to do the same thing. It's Heat Pacers. Set up to be a great Friday night in this arena.
But to get a win like this, certainly I think was very, very necessary for the fan base to feel this one. So good job by everybody tonight, particularly off night. Davion Mitchell, well, it was like his welcome to the Miami Heat game in front of the fans there. What a game today, man. 7 of 8, 5 of 5, 20 points for Davion Mitchell. Crazy. Very, very impressive. And Haywood, man, you have to marvel at a guy's mental fortitude to have something like that. And he was everything today, man. Look at this. 14 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, plus 31 today. And it felt every bit of that. So what a performance by H.